lot of weight to fall.
There's sand in the water.
Yeah.
As long as I pull them in the sand or the water, it's pretty easy. Alligators don't like people because they see everything 3 times its size. If you notice how they hiss and they open their mouth at you, just try to show warning. The other type of warning they have is they open and shut their jaws as fast as they can, making a loud pop sound. It sounds like that. Well, they do that when they're running at you. They only see to the side. You notice how every time you see like this alligator was sitting here, and he turned his head to the side and he turned it back straight? Because he couldn't see me that well. You see the flap of skin over his eyes protects his eyes from tree branches, grass, fighting with other alligators. But his eyes drop down.
Whoa.
Can you see over there?
Do it again.
They're childproof.
Childproof.
Anything that's around his eyes, they drop down the hollow sockets. When his eyes are dropped down, he's going to use his taste buds here on these little black dots to protect himself or hunt for his food. Not only in the water. Up on land, the alligators get really nervous. If you see how this alligator was like hissing and just trying to keep turning and just getting away from me, he's really scared. That alligator's never been handled by people. They take food and dump it out of the back of a truck. The alligators come over and eat it. That's it. There's no human contact with alligators whatsoever. So alligator farms are nothing but big flooded cow pastures with a fence around it. Nobody goes out there and hand feeds them or nothing like that, so he doesn't bond with you or anything. His eyes dropping down protect him from tree branches, grass, fighting with other alligators. They also have ears. Any constant flashes would just alert the alligators. They're not able to determine distances or direction with their hearing, but they hear a splash, they come up to the surface and look for something moving. The first thing they see is moving when they come out of the water, that's what they get committed to. So if somebody's out there throwing a bunch of food in the water, and they're holding the food in front of the alligator, he's going to open his mouth 1 3/4 his body length and grab the food in the hand. So it's not a good idea feeding alligators. They shut their jaws at about 1/3 of the section.
You ever been bit?
Yeah. What do you do for work?
Real estate.
So when you ever not want to buy a house? About just like that. The alligators only see down the sides of their jaws here. They can't see this ball on the end of his nose. That's what makes it possible to grab him by the front of their back. Inside the water, you can't get around his head because all these little black dots here are taste buds. And so there, you touch them, it's a reflex on the open their mouth, so they feel something to touch. On the side, they'll open and keep shut as fast as alligators have 80 to 88 teeth. They're capable of going through 380 sets of teeth in 100 years. The 2 indentations you see up there in the middle of the jaws, that's how far his eyes drop down the side of his head. So in 6th vegetation, his eyes drop down the side of his skull for protection. There's a hard flap of skin right here. There's a bone right there to protect it. Right on the side of his eye, see it puffs up? It's called a temporal opening. That's what takes the pressure off of his eyes. So in thick vegetation, they rarely get their eyes open. The alligators crush up the food, and they use the weight of their food to pull this down and open up that flap in his eye. So alligators have to have a whole animal inside their mouth to be able to swallow it. If it lays across his teeth, it pushes all of his bottom teeth up in the holes in the roof of his mouth, chops the animal in half to make it smaller. So they're pretty much just only eat things that can fit in their mouth. Turtles, birds, fish, frogs, snakes, rabbits, raccoons. Everything you guys see on your boat ride is what this size an alligator will eat. Once you get alligators like 12, 13 foot, they start crossing the levee and feeding small deer, small wild pigs, bobcats, rabbits, raccoons. They start looking for larger animals. So if you see 6 to 8 foot alligators in an area, you're probably not going to see a 10 or 14 foot alligator. You see 14-footers, you're not going to see any 2-footers because they're going to eat it. Alligators eat each other when there's no other food source around. If they're just about starving, in other words, they don't go out there just to prey on little alligators. A lot of the drivers make it sound like that, but that's all they eat is little alligators. They may eat other animals until they can't find anything else. The reason why the Seminole Indians, or why people call this wrestling, is the Seminole Indians would tie up their alligators by pinning his jaws in with their chest and chin, so they had both their hands free to take a rope and wrap it around his jaws. They called this bulldogging the alligator, but people saw it and they started saying they were wrestling the alligator. They pinned his jaws with their chest and chin, so they had their hands free to get the rope and wrap it around his jaws tight enough, or it'll slip right off the end of his nose, getting it smaller in the front. I'm not going to tie the alligator, but I'll pin his jaws, put my hands to the sides just to give me an idea of how they would hold it and what it would look like. If you fight me, try to get your picture. They take the rope, wrap it around his jaws, then they take the end of his tail and tie that to his jaws so they can pick him up and carry him. Just for pictures, I'm going to show you guys the same thing I just did there, but with his mouth open. I haven't really came up with a purpose for this yet. Besides you guys get pictures. You'll be able to tell if I don't do it right. See, as long as I don't touch anywhere in there, they build up enough calories right there where it doesn't have a lot of fuel. The easiest way to tell the difference between an alligator and a crocodile is alligators are black and they live in fresh water. Crocodiles are beige and they live in salt water. If this was, a lot of people say this is a crocodile because they see the teeth that hangs out of his mouth here. If you look at any one of these other alligators, they don't have these teeth that hangs out of his jaws. This is the only alligator I have in here like that. See how his head is really short and fat compared to his body? His head kind of matches his body, so you can't tell by the size of their head. Male, female, or alligator, crocodile. The easiest way to tell the male and the female is we buy these alligators and we'll stick it on the receipt. Everything's been, the only other way to tell is probing them. They don't do that here. Now, if I hold the alligator down like this here, he's not going to move because we're cold-blooded. This time of year, they fill up so much. They try to fill up each side of his nose and distribute more blood to his body. There's no such thing. Because the alligator distributes cold blood to his body. So it makes him really walk on it. But to cover up his eyes, it's just like putting blinders on a horse to make him relax. You see how his belly's swelled up? His mouth super closed? That's the same as I was doing with that little alligator. You cover up their eyes, as long as they can't see anything around them. Just like putting blinders on birds and swing. Same exact thing. And he won't move until I touch him. Once when he walks, he drags his toes on the ground, they do that for balance. It's not true that they run faster than people. They only run about 5 miles an hour, but they can swim 12 to 14 miles an hour. That's where they get the speed at. Well, anyway, so before I come back to Flanagan, we don't get paid to handle these alligators, so we set up a couple of tip boxes on the face. Any tips we receive in there is how we feed and take care of the alligators. Pay for band-aids when they bite it. I want to thank you for coming over to hope you guys all do it.
Thank you.
Thanks for They're not pennies, they're full blooded. That's what I was talking about. They're cold?
Huh?
They're cold?
Cold.
They're cold.